not sure if you guys have heard, maybe you now have heard because this has now become a national story. But 28-year-old Irvo Otieno, who was a young man out of Central Virginia, I think it's Dinwiddie, Virginia, near where. Anyway, I'll ask Will in a second because I'm sure he might be familiar with the area, but maybe he's not familiar with the story. So if you're not familiar with the story, let me bring you up to speed. So earlier this month, Irvo was experiencing a mental health crisis at his home. And the details that I've been able to gather to me just leave my mouth wide open in disbelief because it doesn't make any fucking sense. He was approached by police, I believe in his neighborhood, after a neighbor called police because they saw him allegedly picking up the neighbor's solar powered like walkway lights. You know, the joints you just push into the ground and when it gets dark, the lights come on. I mean, they're not expensive, right? Maybe what a pack of 10 is 20, $30. Like not pricey items, okay? So the police come and they determine that he's having a mental health crisis and they put him under some sort of emergency hold order and they take him to a mental health hospital. While I believe he's being processed into the hospital, what police say, Henrico County deputies say that the young man, quote, got combative. Now that's cop speak. I don't know what the fuck that means. Okay, because that could mean a lot of things. When black people raise their voice to be okay, and the fact that they used combative, they didn't say it was physically combative, they said combative. Okay. So Irvo allegedly became combative, according to police. And they took him away from the mental hospital and, in fact, took him to the Henrico County Jail, I believe, where it ended up that he was murdered by being held down by 7 deputies. He was smothered. The positional asphyxiation. How many times have we seen this as a method of murdering our people by police? If they don't outright shoot us, murder us, they suffocate us, they crush us, they deny us of breath, right? This is what appears to have happened to this young man. And now there have been some charges that have been levied. If you could pop up that article for me, Will. The right one. Yes, because in addition to the 7 deputies charged, now 3 hospital employees have been charged in the death of Irvo. Okay, so this is Dinwiddie County, but Henrico County plays into this as well. So now we're looking at a total of 10 people, including 3 Virginia mental health employees and 7 sheriff's deputies have been charged with murder in the death of a 28-year-old black man. In a security video, yes, that is seen in the security video being pinned to the ground, according to officials. It said Irvo had been arrested by the Henrico County Police, on March the 3rd. Days later, on March the 6th, Henrico Sheriff's deputies took him to Central State, which is a psychiatric hospital in Dinwiddie. They claimed that he became combative and that the deputies had to restrain him. They also went on to say that he was later declared dead. But hold on. See, this piece is omitting a couple of facts here. So Mr. Oteneo's case marks the latest example of a black man's in custody death that law enforcement has later came under scrutiny. So then this article goes on to talk about Tyree Nichols. Really, it could have talked about a couple of other people that have Black people specifically who had ended up dead at the hands of Henrico County, either police or sheriff's deputies who are reported to be having a mental health crisis. I'd found the name of another man. Where did that go? Because I just wanted to mention their name real quick because I wasn't clear what the outcome was. But his name, this young man's name was Malachi Levar. Yep, Malachi Levar Carroll. And he was gunned down by Henrico County Police. When I say this was last year, last summer, July 2022. I wasn't able to find much follow up about that. But speaking about this case specifically, I mean, it is absolutely devastating and heartbreaking to see again another one of our folks. And again, this just seems to happen to our folks. Like last week's chat, when I was talking about Tucker Carlson, when I went back and read the chat, I saw some white, so I assume they was whites. Maybe they was fucking FBI, COINTELPRO paid, whatever the fuck. But anyway, they was in here talking about, oh, y'all victim mongering and this, that, and the third. And it's like, when there are certain things that seem to only happen to black people, I mean, I can understand how racists can just very casually overlook that because, they believe that black people are inherently dangerous because that's what white supremacy and racism and generations of colonization have done to not only us, but them as well. But this only happens to us experiencing mental health crisis. I don't see the same stories. I don't. And if I do, about white folks experiencing mental health crisis and ending up a victim of police brutality or even worse, police murder, it's usually for circumstances far exceeding what happened to this young man. And let me go on here because again, the article was decidedly lacking some details here. I think I picked this link actually because there was a package attached to this that I did not send well because every local every local story that I saw pertaining to this coming out of the Richmond area, coming from the Richmond media, it keeps describing Irvo as a suspect slash inmate. And and I'm deep in confusion why he's being described that way. Number one, what he was initially charged with, the charge of burglary. Bullshit. I when I think of burglary, don't y'all think of someone literally coming into your house and taking your shit and leaving? Him walking around his neighbor's front yard, picking up the solar panel lights, the little stick in the ground lights that light up the pathway. Burglary? Is that what that is? Isn't that petty theft? I would think because of the value of the burglary. So again, the criminalization of this man continues even in the media, even after his when 10 people have been charged in his murder. The local media outlets kept calling him an inmate slash a suspect. And the chronology of what happened to this young man is very higgy because he was picked up on March the 3rd for again this mental health crisis with the neighbor's yard items. They took him to the hospital where the police said he became combative. And then the police tried to charge him or did charge him with, I believe, vandalism, disorderly conduct, and assault on a police officer, right? Excuse me. How is he being processed at the mental health center, the mental health hospital? How is he being processed at the mental health hospital catching fucking charges? Isn't the whole purpose of him being there indicates that he is in need of assistance? He is in need of professional psychiatric help. He is having some sort of crisis. So we're going to hold people who are experiencing mental health crisis inside of the mental hospital to the same standard of law as we would somebody that is behaving normally. Black people can't act out any fucking where, man. You can't even be breaking down at the mental hospital without the police looking for a reason to criminalize you and hem you up. And that's where the situation ended up going way worse is when he was transported. There we go. When he was transported to the Henrico County Jail or the Dinwiddle County Jail, wherever the fuck he went. That's when the issues begin to happen. Because guess what? Jails are not the place where you treat people with mental health issues. Okay. I don't know what kind of issue Irvo was having, but I can imagine that a jail setting would not be the kind of thing that would make it any better. In fact, I can see it further traumatizing him, making his situation that much worse. So the video that is reported to have been seen by the family, and Ben Crump is representing the family as well. The video apparently is very bad. And even if the video was available, I still would not show that shit because I don't need to see it. What was described was terrible. They described Irvo as being completely nude, with his hands and feet shackled, and with one of the 7 deputies allegedly basically attacking him and knocking him out of the chair, and all of these motherfuckers basically falling on him and remaining on him for about a duration of about 12 minutes, smothering him to death. And the pictures of the folks, y'all, it's a mix. It's Virginia, Central Virginia. So it's white, we have whites and blacks, a good mix of whites and blacks. But when I saw those black people that are part of the 10 now that have been charged, all I could do was shake my head. I'm like, y'all motherfuckers don't even recognize the humanity in your own brother. Like, you don't even see him as human. And to me, just the way that this happened and the way that hearing him being naked and shackled, I'm like, this was somebody's like perverted dream to murder a black man in this way specifically. Like how could there not be one person in this entire scenario that would be like, no, y'all, get off him, get off him, get off him. He's had enough. Nobody said nothing. They waited till what? He stopped fucking moving. And then, oh, and then it's all after the fact. Oh, check his pulse. Oh, check to see if he's breathing. How the fuck is he supposed to breathe with 10 people on him? Anyway, I'm sorry. I want us to take a look, if we could, at a press conference. And we're not going to look at the whole thing. Because, hold on.
I need a minute, Kim. Can you give me a minute for that? Sorry.
So while we're waiting for Will to get the video from the press conference, and his mother, wait till you guys hear his mother speak. And I'm sure you've already seen it because I've seen tiny snatches of what she said when she said that her son was tortured, that they treated her son worse than a dog, and that her son was murdered. The part of the video that we're going to look at is when she's describing the kind of person that her son was. She's going to be describing about when they came to the US and the way that, he felt about being here and the way people felt about him being here. I mean, he sounded like an extremely pleasant young man who was just obviously experiencing some sort of crisis, but it just underscores again the need the need to build more jails as a solution to the mental health crisis, says Democrats, says Joe Biden, says Republicans. The need for police to be better trained to encounter people with mental health issues. Like, this is the sort of responses that I was seeing from elected officials. I think State Senator Creed Deeds, or they said, is Creed Deeds the senator or is he in the Virginia legislature? The package that I watched from the Richmond TV outlet, they interviewed Creed Deeds. Virginians know who Creed Deeds is. And that's the same shit he was saying. He was like, well, we just need to make sure that all police are trained and equipped to be crisis response experts and da da da. I'm like, no, how about we actually get crisis response experts, people who have training, education, field experience, clinical experience, dealing with those who are in crisis. The police don't have that capability. Okay. For those who do have a college degree, it's not in fucking psychology, psychology or psychiatry. It's usually in something like criminal justice. How do you keep reinforcing the status quo? Is what I assume they teach in criminal justice curriculum. Oh, how do we keep the status quo in place? Oh, there you go. This is how you uphold the law. I don't want police responding to people with mental health crisis. First and foremostly, I want us to stop calling the police on Black folks specifically, because it is Black folks whose lives are in danger and whose lives are at risk for police when they are acting out. And I hate to even use the term acting out, but that, because that's not what it is, right? They're having a mental health crisis. I get that. But what it looks like to the outside is a Black person acting out. And that's not allowed in society. That scares a lot of people. I was going to say white folks. It scares Black people too. And people just want to call the police all willy-nilly on their own people, knowing what the possibility is. And I can't see how we've experienced so many of these people being murdered by cops when their loved ones were calling for help. Do people not see that this is a pattern, y'all? I mean, it's been a pattern, it's been an ongoing pattern, but it's been only what, the past few years that these kinds of stories actually make the rounds and make national attention. Like, have we seriously not got the memo? What's the kids say in the fucking old folks who want to sound cool? What do they say? Did we not get the assignment? Do we not understand the assignment? You know what I'm saying? And please direct me to the folks that are doing the political education specifically around this, about re-educating Black communities about what to do when our people are in mental health crisis. Because calling the police shouldn't even be on the fucking list. And it seems to be among the first, second things that people do. And I can understand sometimes people experiencing mental health crisis can be scary. Sometimes they can threaten to harm others or themselves. But that requires an expertise that I'm sure you, as a family member or a loved one, you've got more than that. You know how to handle them acting out better than the police, who are armed with guns and who are scary little hoes who don't who jump when Black people get loud. You can't call the police on your people, man. And I know I don't have to tell y'all that, but I need y'all to tell the others. I need y'all to tell the others to stop doing that shit. I wanted to say this also real quick about Ben Crump representing this family. Because, I told y'all I grew up a very reliable Democrat, right? So all the things that go along with being a Black Democrat, I used to subscribe to, right? And part of that is because, that's who my mama is. Okay. My mother's a big Al Sharpton fan. She was over here this week, and I had to listen to Al Sharpton on the radio. I had to listen to Al Sharpton on the radio. I was not happy. But Sharpton was shouting out Ben Crump, obviously, because all the Black misleaders roll together, and that's fine, whatever. But here, what I finally kind of figured out what my issue with Ben Crump is, okay? Because I don't think Ben Crump is inherently bad. Do I think he's a bad, evil man? No, I don't think he's a bad, evil man. Do I think that he is profiting off the worst kinds of Black trauma? Yes, I do. When we spoke on Black Power Media on the Remix Morning Show to the family, to the mother of Kendrick Johnson, down there in Valdosta, Georgia, and the look on her face and the sort of contempt in her voice when Ben Crump's name got brought up, it spoke volumes. And I recognize what his shtick is, kind of for what it is. Like, if there's a potential for a multi-million-dollar lawsuit to be paid to a family from the city or state or police department, whatever, he's gonna be all about it. Okay. But when it comes to actually, hold on, Will.
Got the video, sir.
I appreciate it. But when it comes to actually doing things that change the system, that change this kind of repeated lynching by the state that happens to Black people, when it comes to doing stuff that fundamentally changes that is where I don't see Ben Crump. He's a personal injury attorney, right? I think it's a misnomer that they even characterize him as a civil rights attorney. Al Sharpton on his show, Al Sharpton on his radio show called Ben Crump the Attorney General of Black America. I almost spit out my lemon water. I said, "What?" I said, "He's the what of what? What?" I can't support anybody profiting off lynchings. And because Ben Crump is reliant upon this system, upon the system, upon the status quo of black people being murdered by the state and the opportunity to come in and sue the entity, responsible so the family gets a payout. I mean, his whole profit model is built upon that. And that to me is disgusting. That is macabre. That is gross. If he would dovetail that with, I don't know, fucking lobbying to get policies changed, supporting organizations within these specific cities where these police murders occur. I mean, because he's making a lot of money. Like, he needs to be supporting organizers on the ground, not just a local chapter of the National Action Network. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to support the true grassroots folks there that have their finger on the pulse of the community that could actually get some shit done and accomplished. So that's kind of my issue with Ben Crump. Like, so long as niggas keep getting killed by the police, Ben Crump is going to have a stream of income. And is that how you want to make your money? I guess. But anyway, so I want us to take a listen to Irvo's mom, okay? And we are going to check out maybe about 3.5 minutes of this, okay? Because this woman, she spoke very firmly, she spoke decisively, but at the same time, clearly, she's speaking from a position of pain, hurt, and grief. But she was very clear in her message to the police, to the community, and she also shared the kind of person that her son was. And that's the part that I want us to hear, because I want us to hear about this young man, because usually so many of these clips are just chopped up in quick 5-second bites, 10-second bites. The news media just uses them to get what they want. I want to hear what this woman, what she wanted us to know about her son. So let's take a look at that video, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Caroline Ouko. Irvo Otieno is my son. Irvo was 4 years old when we came to the United States. Irvo went to kindergarten here in the United States, proceeded to Tuckahoe Elementary School and Freeman High School, and then went on to college in California. Irvo is as American as apple pie. This is what he knows. This is home for him. And when you're home, you are in a community. We live in a community. We have friends. This young man you see here had a big heart. Irvo was the guy that his classmates drew to. When they needed someone to talk to, he was the listener. He would take time to listen to them. And then he would take time to process and then lean back in. My son was a leader. He was not a follower. He also brought a different perspective to the table. If there was a discussion, he was not afraid to go the other way when everybody else is following. This was my baby. He cared for people. He cared that people were treated right. That was at the core of his upbringing in our home. He cared that people were treated equally. He would go to school when he was in middle school and invite that child who is eating alone over that table and say, man, come on, join in, let's eat together. He was kind. Even though Irvo was going through mental illness, what I saw today was heartbreaking America. It was disturbing. It was traumatic. My son was tortured, to put it right. I saw the torture. There is no way that Henrico County Sheriff deputies were on him. 7 people 7 officers on one man. And all this started when my son went to hospital on the 3rd. And that evening, he was taken to jail, whisked from the back of the jail into the hospital. Those 3 days at Henrico County Jail were a horror. I've seen it on video. And I've seen more. But I'm here to mourn. And I'm mourning the life of this young man, my son. Mental illness should not be your ticket to death.
Right. Amen.
There was a chance to rescue him. There was a chance to stop what was going on. And I don't understand how all systems failed him.
All systems.
I don't understand why
There to say. I mean, Miss Caroline said a lot in that press conference, and then later on, she gave the comments about her son being treated worse than a dog and how he was murdered. And it is a heartbreaking scene to see yet another family go through this and experience this. It'll be interesting to see whether or not these 10 people who are charged, I believe only 2 of the 7 deputies, with last time I checked, had actually made bond. Um, they were still keeping them locked up, which is interesting. I can't recall what was the bond asked for by prosecutors, but second degree murder, that ain't no little bond, I would imagine. Um, but now 3 of the hospital workers have been charged also, and it's like between what happened with Tyree Nichols and now this incident in Virginia, when our people become cops, like there has to be a part of them that absolutely suspends the recognition for humanity towards other black people. Again, I'm gonna keep referencing this Al Sharpton because again, my mother made me listen to Al Sharpton for like 2 hours, and I said, Mama, is there anything else on the radio? My mother said, No, it's Al Sharpton. Sharpton was talking about that a little bit. He talked about in New York during Giuliani. Renee, correct me if I'm misstating this. But when Giuliani was mayor, there was a bit of a push to get black people, black officers, as part of NYPD. According to Al Sharpton, Eric Adams was part of that push, which makes complete sense because if Eric Adams became NYPD under Giuliani, that makes exact sense why this nigga act just like Giuliani. This nigga act just like Giuliani. But regardless, and Sharpton said about the black officers being recruited to NYPD. And he said, and there was some, on the far left, some of the left radical brothers was calling these brothers in uniform pigs. I said, well, what else were they? what else should we call them? What else should we call them? If you are going to don the uniform of a slave catcher and then do slave catchery shit, you have earned the title of a pig, my guy. All skin folk ain't fucking kinfolk out here. Just because that is a black man or black woman inside of an NYPD or any sort of law enforcement uniform does not mean they're about to do right by black people. In fact, it likely means the opposite. It means they about to act just like they white field training officers taught them. To be harsh, to be violent, to give no consideration, to not listen to when black people are stating what their needs are and whatever they're experiencing in the moment. It is abhorrent. And I understand, you guys, signing up for the military and signing up to be cops is a way for black folks to use those public jobs, them good government jobs, as ladders into the middle class. I get it, man. But not if your soul is gonna go dark. not if all of a sudden you don't recognize the humanity in your brother or sister, your black brother or sister, or your brown brother or sister. That little bit of salary and pension and benefits ain't worth your soul, man. But I'm concerned, to be honest. Like, I'm hoping that there are going to be convictions again. I hate to put any sort of faith in the system to get justice for black folks, whatever in the world that means or whatever in the world that looks like. I mean, the beating death of Tyree Nichols by the Memphis police officers, all those black officers, and now a racially mixed group of folks charged with second degree murder here in Henrico County, Virginia. I don't know if we're gonna get convictions on all these, y'all. But because there's black folks on trial, we might. We might get all convictions. All of a sudden, the system recognizes where these officers had dereliction of duty and recognizes their criminal actions, and yes, will likely punish them. Will likely punish them. But the system has to be changed, y'all. Like, I don't want police to be trained in crisis response shit because that's not the basis of that's not the foundation of any of their education. That's just an 8-hour class that they take on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? To quote unquote learn how to respond to someone experiencing a mental health crisis. But I know that training gets applied differently depending on who's experiencing the mental health crisis, right? So it doesn't solve the problem of racially biased policing. It doesn't solve the problem of black people who are experiencing a mental health crisis ending up dead when their family or their loved ones call 911 for help. What can we do to stop that? What can we do to stop that? There has to be a separate response team, period. Like, period, point blank, unarmed or armed with non-lethal things. I don't even know if I want them to be armed with anything, actually. Anybody experiencing a mental health crisis, I mean, what the fuck? I'm sure the last thing they want is to be pepper sprayed, right? But you shouldn't be coming at them with combativeness and make them trying to get them to physically resist. What you want them to do is to relax. If they're threatening self-harm or harming others, what can we do to de-escalate? Why do we even need to take them anywhere? Maybe they can receive all of the counseling and the treatment that they require right there in their homes. But you're not going to have that if you keep giving the police millions and billions of dollars. Fuck this system, y'all. Fuck this shit. I want us to be like France and burn the fucking shit down. And I want us to be like France and have the state afraid of us. Because our people are dying out here. Miss me, like Sister Jackie say, dog, and Kamal said it too. Miss me with all you talk about, oh, we got to stop the nuclear war. Nigga, black people are being murdered right here in America every single fucking day. Whether or not Russia drops a nuclear bomb on us, well, then I guess we all dying together then, as opposed to us dying, as opposed to a segment of us dying more often via different violent means. Let us all go together, shall we? Fuck out my goddamn face. Anyway, damn, it's 8:15. I just sat here and ran my mouth. My apologies. Y'all still in here? All right. Y'all be easy.